Okay, so this is Hamza. I'm going to show some of the improvements that I've made to the game engine. So firstly, I'll go over the reflection and refraction. So this ball here, you can see the orbs that are sort of attached to it are refracting, and they're bending the Cubemap light. And then the other one is reflection, so the ball itself is reflective. You can see there it's reflecting the Cubemap, and you can see it sort of changes based on how you look at it. And then so this whole thing is fully deferred, and I'm using the texture over here on this TV, so that's the normal texture, and it's also got this sort of grain effect to make it look like a TV. And you can see it sort of renders the view based on how you're looking. It's not a copy of what you're looking at on the screen. It's actually rendering the entire scene, but only just doing the normal texture on top of there, so you can see there when I do that. I added bloom as well, and also volumetric lighting. I'll go over that after, but you can see the bloom here. When I looked at the sky, the light sort of clips on the head there. That's the blur from the bloom, and that's also happening, I think, on this gun here. You can see it sort of blooms. There's also depth of field, so when you get close to something, it sort of blurs out, or if something's far away, like that ball over there, it starts to blur out. Another thing is this portal thing over here is actually using a stencil buffer, so it's rendering a different scene with a different texture and showing it through this sort of wall. And you can actually go through it, because I'm also rendering this player character as if it's being rendered on both sides, so it's almost like you're in another world. And then when you look on the other side, it's the same thing. I'm actually doing that twice, so it's two separate sort of walls back to back, not just one. And you can also go through this one. I'm also rendering the other character there, and you can see the lighting here is fully deferred. It's running pretty smoothly on my computer. And when I go through, back to the other side, and I'm back here. So one of the things I wanted to mention is the volumetric lighting. That is using a depth buffer based on a point light. So the depth buffer's color is changed to the color of the point light so that it matches, and then it's being blurred by ray marching from the position of the light position on screen to where that point is, and it's sort of marching to that point and getting samples in between, and you get this sort of effect of it blurring through, and the exposure comes through over top of the other particles. And I also added like a noise texture, so you can see there's a sort of like dustiness to it. That helps make it look more volumetric. And then another thing I wanted to mention was the animations. So you can see I have a fully rigged character here. There's a skin mesh animation. You can move it back and forth, strafe, left and right. If you jump, he does this sort of jump thing. If you're walking and you do a jump, he does a jump and goes in the direction that he was going in. And you can also hold shift to run forward, but you can't run backwards, obviously. So you can run, and you can also jump while running. And then you can also switch to this other character, so there's two of them. When I switch to this one here, I can move this one around, that one goes to idle, and then this one starts moving around. This is calculating all of the matrix transformations using an animator controller, or animation controller, that I made. It's just getting all the offsets and transforms every frame for each specific character based on whatever animation is active. So when I switch back here, it'll just switch that to idle. So if I'm going to jump here, I switch it, goes back to idle. Even though it should be in a jump state, it switches back to idle. And that's about the extent of what I have so far in here. Hopefully I'll add more later, but it's looking pretty good for now. So here's another example of bloom, just wanted to show. So when I take my character near like a light here, you can see it starts to bleed, and that's sort of what the bloom is doing. And that's it.